When Loki executive producer Kevin R. Wright began to assemble his creative team for the hit Disney Plus series' second season, he knew that production designer Kasra Farahani was an absolute necessity. Before crafting the series' signature look in seasons 1 and 2, Farahani climbed the ranks of Marvel Studios as an art director and a concept artist on various MCU projects such as Thor, Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 2, and Black Panther. He'd even done some writing and directing in between Marvel gigs, so Wright first invited him to join Eric Martin's writer's room as a staff writer. That additional role on the show eventually led to a third assignment as director of Season 2's third episode, 1893, which allowed Farahani to design the 1893 World's Fair in Chicago and introduce this season's highly anticipated Kang variant, Victor Timely, Jonathan Majors, as far as the show's bold and indelible production design. Farahani credits Wright, as well as Season 1's line producer Trish Stanard, for going to bat for more immersive sets than Marvel Studios would typically build. And now, because of Loki's acclaimed sets, Farahani seems fairly confident that this approach will become more common on other Marvel projects moving forward. Specifically, we were building more intact, fully 360 sets, including ceilings with integrated lighting, and that was just something that the studio was unsure about because they hadn't done a lot of that. Farahani tells The Hollywood Reporter. And so it took a lot of convincing. I dare say, I hope, that it's even going to change things beyond our show in terms of how things are photographed. At a certain point in 1893, Loki, Tom Hiddleston, and Mobius, Owen Wilson, need to catch up to Victor Timely, Miss Minutes, Tara Strong, and Ravana Renslayer, Gugu Mbatha-Raw. And Mobius presents Loki with a tandem bicycle as a means of doing so. But despite anticipating that the internet would soon be expecting its new favorite meme, Farahani and company opted to only show the beloved duo on the two-seater bike in the deep background of one shot. Even the deep background shot that we do have of them arriving on the bike, we really went back and forth on whether we wanted to do that, because it almost is better in our imaginations. The potential for that to happen is almost better than any way it could ever be executed, Farahani explains. Below, during a recent spoiler conversation with THR, Farahani also discusses Miss Minutes' surprising character turn and how the episode's Balder the Brave reference long predates the character's one-time inclusion in Doctor Strange and the Multiverse of Madness. Besides taking place in the same time period as The Prestige and having similar production design and costumes, Victor Timely also has Tesla-like ambitions and a stage performance with manufactured lightning. Now, Kevin Wright told me that you had some Prestige photos on the wall, but how much did it actually influence you? Well, it didn't influence much architecturally because so much of that was prescribed to us by the setting of the 1893 World's Fair. But the electrical arcing and the scale and the way they used technology in the context of the 19th century was cool to look at on the wall. Excluding Ant-Man and the Wasp, Quantumania's credit scenes, Jonathan Majors introduced his third Kang variant, Victor Timely. Did the two of you have considerable discussion about how to differentiate Victor from He Who Remains and Kang the Conqueror? Or did he pretty much show up ready to go with this take? There was a lot of discussion in the writer's room about figuring out who Victor Timely is and how he was going to be used to service the storyline of the season. We kind of wanted to keep that shrouded in mystery because there was going to be an expectation about what Kang is going to be like. So we wanted to delay the moment of revealing his nature until then. Jonathan showed up with so much work and invention in terms of the Timely character, and some of the conversations that he and I had in the run-up to shooting were about a historical figure named Granville Woods. He was a black inventor from the late 19th century, and he lived exactly when Timely would have lived, basically. He invented so many things, and people were constantly trying to steal them from him. Edison twice tried to take his patents, but Edison lost in court and ended up offering Woods a job, which was declined. So he was an important figure that went into Timely as well, but Jonathan built the mannerisms, the physicality, the quirkiness, and the specific mix of how he represented intellectual brilliance with social awkwardness. A degree of charlatanism and pathos at the end. Miss Minutes, Tara Strong, went from the friendly and mysterious mascot for the show to this sinister entity that wanted He Who Remains to transform her into a real person so that they could rule together.